Welcome to our last official self-mastery call. I appreciate you all being here. Just congratulations. I mean, you've completed, really, we've done 10 online sessions, but this has been a span of 12 weeks with us starting in the beginning to create and customize your self-care blueprint and giving you a week to really start practicing that and then going over each of these individual modules. Today, we're talking about embodiment. And this piece is where you actually create transformation in your life. And oftentimes this is the piece that people neglect. You know, we're so good at consuming information, right? Learning, 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 learning. We're also really good at looking outside of ourselves for information, for answers, for confirmation. And although that can be helpful, right? And the information and the things that you've learned here in this course are helpful, this mastery program, now taking it and embodying it and internalizing it and practicing it, being it. Embodiment is to be. It's to be embodied. It's literally taking your mind and shutting it all down and being it. It's how you show up in the world. It's how you don't respond in the world. It's how you become proactive instead of reactive. It's how when life does the roller coaster, which it will, you get to just pause and witness and be that owl energy and watching it and going, okay, I expected this to come. I knew it would. We know it's going to come, right? We know the storms are going to come. We know the things in life will come. But the real practice and the mastery piece of this program is being able to be a witness of it all instead of being reactive in it all. And so I encourage you to take the opportunity to continue to, go back and rewind and look at where you were 12 weeks ago. What was going on in your life 12 weeks ago? We were August and end of summer. I think most of our self-care was like average at best, and we came back and said, okay, I want to be committed. I want to go all in. I want to look at my self-care blueprint and get aligned again. And so thinking back of this, before we drop in and do that check-in, which we will always do, I want you to just take a moment. And if you like to close your eyes or keep them open, it doesn't matter. I'm not really going to walk you through a meditation, but I just want you to go back to where you were 12 weeks ago. And where was your self-care? And how were you showing up for yourself? And then we got on a call and we talked about, what's one thing you want to do physically? It's one thing you want to do mentally. What do you need? Where do you want to show up in your life emotionally and spiritually? And then what do my relationships look like? And we customized a very, very specific blueprint just for you, because as unique as your thumbprint, so is your self-care. And we also shifted, fast forward, weeks went on, you tried some things on, maybe learned like, oh, I want to adjust that. It got cold outside, the weather changed, so that is a factor. There's lots of things that have happened in 3 months. And the reason we do a whole season of self-care and self-mastery is so you can experience these different curveballs that come. And they all came, right? We all had the curveball. So I want you to think about that time in the last 12 weeks when you had the curveball. What was it that came your way that knocked you off your consistent practice of self-care? Or what was the moment that you realized like, wow, this one is a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be? And just witness, what did you do? How did you shift? How did you adjust? And I invite you to do that over and over and over again in your life, over and over again. And this check-in that we do is something that I invite you to do every day. Every day, check in with yourself. First thing, you are the greatest investment you will ever make. The relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you will have in this life. Focusing on someone else, what they are or aren't doing, how they are or aren't showing up. You have zero control over that. And that is a lot of mental capacity that will occupy your peace. And so taking control back and being proactive and saying, okay, I'm going to check in with my physical body. How does it feel? I'm going to go through all of these 5 pillars and just see where my baseline is so I can ask myself this question: what is one thing I can do to increase that number by 1? And that's the embodiment piece. That's the takeaway here. There's not this big, huge aha at the end of this. It's like, now here's this. You've been doing it. You've been consistently practicing it every week. And so hopefully it now feels a little bit easier, meaning it's part of your routine, it's part of your daily practice. And what you get to do is be consistent. It's not about perfection, never, ever, ever, but it is about consistency and it is about showing up. So I'm going to invite you right now to put an alarm in your phone that says check in. And I want you to pull out your calendar. I want you to pick a time. You can do it at 7 a.m., you can do it at 8 a.m., you can do it at 9 a.m., whatever time you feel like you want. What's a time every day that you could just have an alarm go off that says check in and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to check in. I'm going to do my daily check in and I'm going to see, where am I? And it could be at night if that's what works best for you. If you feel like your mornings are pretty fluid and you've got a routine down, but then later in the afternoon around 3 or 4, you're like, oh, I need to check in. I've been going. I need to check in. You could do it then, or if you like to do it at night. But whatever you decide, I encourage you now to take action in this moment right now and create an alarm or a calendar event in your phone. I had a life coach tell me a couple of years ago, he said, Kate, if it's not in your calendar, it's not important. And I was like, ooh. He goes, look through your calendar and see where you're spending your time. That's where your priorities are. So if you want to make your self-care a practice, a priority, put it in your phone. Give yourself a timer or a alarm. Make an alarm. Make yourself a priority. This is an act that says, I'm prioritizing myself. I'm prioritizing my self-care. The holidays are coming up, y'all. Next week is November, which is, we just go from Halloween to full on, like, here we go, Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's getting busy. It's going to get full. Your calendars are going to get really full. If you don't prioritize your self-care, it will fall through the cracks 100%. This is like the end of the year. It's why January ends up being such a January is like the most lucrative time for gyms, for any kind of exercise program, any kind of any of that stuff. January is like, I used to run a fitness club, a women's only fitness club in Savannah, Georgia. And we would have, quadruple sales in January because everybody was back on their fitness goals and back on their routine. And so don't be that. Consistently show up for yourself, check in with yourself. You're going to be around family. I don't know about you, but family's the biggest trigger of every person I've ever talked to around the holidays, right? You got to really prioritize your own self-care so that when you walk into spaces like that, you're good. You're filled, you're good. If you're on empty, that stuff will trigger you more. It will rub you the wrong way. You will be reactive instead of proactive. So I want to bring this home by really reiterating the purpose of this is so you can be proactive in your life instead of reactive. When your cup is full, you can hold space for people. They can have their thing and you're like, good. And then I want to give you a little bit of feedback here as well. And if you're not, okay, if it's just one of those days and you're like, I'm doing the self-care thing because I'm checking it off the list and because I'm committed to myself, but I am still low on my numbers, okay? Take that information and give yourself the space, the time, the nourishment that you need, the permission slip. Give yourself a permission slip to say, you know what? I'm not at even 80% today. And so I'm going to pass. I'm going to not feel the expectation that I got to show up at that thing because I said I would. We make commitments to show up at Christmas events, at family events, at Thanksgiving. We say yes weeks in advance, but we're saying yes to the idea of it. But that day, if you're just like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. Give yourself a permission slip. Give yourself a permission slip to say, today's not the day for me to show up. And that's okay. It's okay. So that's embodiment. Okay. That's embodiment. So when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to put your pens, pay all the things in your hands down. This will be our last check-in together. Maybe. I think I'm going to do another one of these with you in November. I was just feeling it. I'm like, we probably need a little check-in sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So I'll send out some information on that. I'm going to write myself a note, a November, December check-in follow-up. Okay, so when you're ready, close your eyes. Just be here. And notice your breath. Notice the texture of your breath. Notice how quickly you're breathing or how slow. Maybe this is the first time you've even been with yourself today, this morning. Just feel your heartbeat. Give yourself gratitude for showing up. Give yourself gratitude for showing up. And even more gratitude. And I want you to thank yourself for saying yes to self-mastery 12 weeks ago. For prioritizing yourself. I want you to sit in that for just a minute. Feel the gratitude for saying yes to you. See if you can let your heart expand a little bit more. And say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for me. And now bring your attention to your physical body and scan from the top of your head all the way down, all the way down, all the way down to your fingertips and even your toes, and just notice how your body feels, your physical body. And on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being very uncomfortable, lots of pain, and 10, no pain, very light. Where are you in this moment right now, today? On a scale of 0 to 10 physically, how do you feel? And now bring your attention to your mind. I want you to notice your thoughts in this moment. Do you have racing thoughts? A lot going on in your mind. Maybe you're thinking about all the other things except for this moment. Maybe yesterday, this morning, today, tomorrow. I would be closer to a 0, having a hard time being here, present. Just notice. And no thoughts at all, or just feeling your breath and being very, very present would be a 10. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you mentally? Now I invite you to bring your attention to your heart, to what you're feeling. And no feeling at all is a 0, and feeling a lot is a 10. How much or how little are you feeling today? On a scale of 0 to 10. And now move your attention to the seat of your soul, that place in you where your soul and your spirit resides. You know where that is. And connect to your essence, who you really, really are. How tuned in are you to that voice, to that energy? A 0 being really turned off and not connected at all. Maybe your mind is racing too much or you're too distracted. Just notice. And then a 10 would be very, very turned on and hearing your intuition, connected to that voice. And after you've gotten that number for your spiritual connection, I want you to think about the relationships in your life, your social self-care, community, relationships, family, people that live in your home. On a scale of 0 to 10, where are you? Are you feeling disconnected? Maybe hibernating or recluse would be a 0. But if you're feeling really connected and nourished and even inspired, you'd be closer to a 10. So notice what that number is. Take another big, deep breath in, and on the exhale, let everything go. And blink open your eyes and write down those 5 pillars of self-care and what your number is. Where are you today, right now? Starting with your physical, and then your mental, emotional, spiritual, and then social. And you can put it in the chat. I see Zadra and John have put theirs in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can speak up. But let's celebrate some wins, y'all. Let's talk about our wins.
I'll share.
Great, thank you.
It's interesting that my brain doesn't want to call it a win.
Mm,
It has trouble saying the word win. My win is emotional as 8. And it's bubbling up joys and fears. So they're very close to, the excitement and the trepidation all rolled into one about, just life and what I'm up to. But the assignment is not whether you feel good or bad. The assignment is whether you feel. So that's an 8.
Thank you. I know that this feels different than maybe any way you've ever been presented this before, because we've been taught that there are good emotions and bad emotions. But the truth is, there are 82 emotions. Dr. Brene Brown's done the research and she told us there are 82 emotions. And we are human beings having a experience here, and we get to feel all the feelings. And I just want to bring a reminder back to what it is like to be a little toddler, right? Toddlers don't judge their emotions. They throw a tantrum if they don't get the candy bar at Target, right? They are passionate. They are all full of emotion. They're excited, they're sad, and everything happens in 5 minutes. It's all over. That is a full embodied emotionally high IQ being to feel it all. We were taught that there were good emotions and bad emotions, and that you showed certain emotions and you don't show other ones. And so oftentimes we suffer in silence and alone because we feel like we can't show up in those emotions that feel heavy. And I'm encouraging you to be fully all of it. Feel it all. That's the human experience. And sure, if you want to be a little bit withdrawn when you're in your big heavy emotions, great. If you don't want to go to that event or show up, great. But allow yourself to feel it, because when you do, you will move through it. You have to feel it to heal it. You have to. And if you don't, you will store those emotions in your body and they will literally manifest themselves as dis-ease in your body. So feel it. Keep yourselves healthy, keep yourselves well, feel the feelings, move through it so that then you can. And of course, if you're ever stuck in something and you're like, why am I feeling this way? Come back to your mind. What was I just thinking about? And then you can decide, right? Well, I'm feeling stressed because I'm thinking I need more money because I didn't get enough sales. Well, of course you're feeling that way. Of course, right? There's your thoughts. So shift your thoughts and you'll change the way you feel. But noticing, right? Like that's the practice here. So thank you, Zadra, for leading us with that. Who else wants to share? What's your win,
I'll go.
John?
An interesting correlation I'm noticing is I haven't slept well the last 2 nights, just for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I've just been a little bit more just tired, and and I've also been under stress. So those two things, I'm feeling more emotion.
Mm,
And and so when I put it 8, it was hard for me to write that down. I'm like, no, based on your description, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of emotion, and I want to judge it as bad emotion.
mhm.
But I just wrote 8 because I know I'm feeling more than usual. And so I'm just seeing an inverse relationship with the physical and the emotional. And it was just a little bit of an aha for me. And I do, like Sager said, it's hard for me to call the win. It's hard for me to not judge it as negative. It's hard for me to like look at it as a good thing. But
Yeah.
I'm sitting in non-judgment around it. It's like just recognizing that that's what it is for me right now.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Y'all remember, it's a check-in to see where you are. It's a check-in so that you can say, what do I need to be aware of so that I can shift things in my life? So if John, you're checking in, you're like, I am highly emotional, and I can see a correlation between lack of sleep and stress. I can also see that my physical and my mental are lower. What can I do to increase those the physical and the mental, perhaps, right? Like, what's something I can do? Oh, maybe I'll go on a walk, right? Maybe I'll do jumping jacks. Maybe I'll do some push-ups. Maybe I'll do whatever, right? Like, I'm just going to get my heart rate up and move my body. And as I do that, oh, interesting how that's like the solution. So again, the numbers aren't about being, at a certain place even necessarily. It's more about looking at it and say, how do these numbers and how is my emotional state affected by my mental state? How is my emotional state affected by my physical state? And you're looking at this as like, they're not singular, right? You're looking at this as a big picture. And I love, 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 John, the awareness that you just had, because that's exactly why we do this. If you don't check in, how do you know? And then you check in, you're like, okay, fair enough. It's just data. It's just information. And when you remove the judgment from the data, you can actually create change in your life. When you judge it, you get stuck in a shame and guilt cycle, and it makes everything worse. You become disempowered. Thank you, John. Super empowering.
I can share next. So
Thank you.
my my highs were I guess my high was like my social one, which is, interesting because I've just gone through like this season where I've had some really hard things with family, like basically just realizing that I can't depend on them and just kind of removing myself and speaking up and telling them that, like, you guys haven't shown up for me for a while, and so I'm not going to depend on you. And that's that. And so it actually there was a little bit of sadness there, but it actually like felt like really empowering to have that conversation and just realize that my family, I've had to build better bonds other ways. And so through my in-laws and things like that, I feel like I've gotten closer through that. And my other friendships, like my female friendships, I've also had some new stuff happen where we had a friend group just completely fall apart. And I think going through that made me really cherish my other friendships more and reach out more and just be a better friend altogether. And so I feel like with my social, I have been putting a lot more focus into that lately of just showing up more, doing what I would need in life. And so I think that's why it's feeling like that is my strong area right now. So yeah.
Thank you, Carly. What I hear you saying is it's intentional,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the relationships and where you're showing up and how you're showing up is really, really intentional. And so it feels more fulfilling. It's more
Yes.
satisfying. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. And that's why we do this, because don't we all want more fulfillment in life? Don't we all want more satisfaction? That's why intention is so important. Life is going to life no matter what. No matter what, you're going to wake up, you're going to see people, you're going to go through your day. You're either driving it or you're in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Intention puts you in the driver's seat. Intention means I'm the creator of all of this. I am literally creating my reality. And the coolest part about it is when you see that when you're the creator and how other people shift and change and respond because of you. That is the coolest. Then you get to see, you're like, I'm an alchemist, I'm a creator, right? Like that is the beauty of it. And you're creating no matter what. You're creating from fear or you're creating from love at the core, right? At the core. You're either creating from love or fear. And so you have to pause and ask yourself, what's happening in my life? And I would say you are the problem and you're the solution. And you're the solution. That's the good news. You're also the solution. So instead of complaining about your reality, your relationships, the people in your life, what can you do proactively to show up in these relationships? And I love that you're doing it, Carly. What a beautiful, beautiful example and witness you are. And I've watched you do this over the last 12 weeks, and it's been really beautiful to witness you
Thank you.
really working on that specific pillar, because I know it's been one. And that's what I love about this mastery program, y'all. Carly was in the spring group and rejoined us this fall. And it's been really beautiful to see how, like, there might be one pillar or one area of your life that's really potent and active in one season. And then you come into another season, you're like, oh, okay. So now it's relationship time. I'm going to really work on my relationship. So this self-mastery program, again, it's ongoing. This is like every day, all day. I've been doing this for almost a decade and I've refined it and it's grown. But this is it. And it's not that hard, right? It's simple, but it is so complex. So there's a difference between right? It's layered. It's so layered. So Carly, congratulations and thank you for sharing that win. I love it. Barbie, you want to share with us?
Sure. Yeah. I ironically feel like I can relate to Carly a lot in that one of my highs was my social, and it hasn't always been. And I would attribute that to a couple things. On one of our calls a few weeks ago, I actually gave myself a really low social score, and Kate called me out on it. And she's like, I don't think so, because I meet with Kate a lot. And I think I realized something about myself is that my expectations for social were based totally on like external. Like, am I doing all the things external to my home? Am I like serving others? And am I being all the friend to all my friends? And am I being the right family member to all my, and I just had to ratchet it back and go, no, my social right now is in my family. And it's these couple of friends that I really am focusing on, and that's enough. And so for me, when I kind of rein it in and have lower expectations for myself, it felt a lot healthier. And it's also been like how I erect boundaries. I've learned how to be a better boundary setter. And so that has helped me feel more positive about myself personally, as I have not necessarily had to verbalize my boundaries all the time, but just internally hold my boundaries. And um, that has helped me maintain a more positive mental state as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbie. I apologize, y'all. My power just completely shut down. So that's why I went away for a second. And so grateful for a cell phone that I could jump back on so quickly and be here. So if you saw a glitch for a moment, that's what happened. And in fact, this might not have been recording the whole time. So I apologize in advance if the recording is messed up. Barbie, I love this so much. And so the thing that I am taking away from this is what you're saying is it's about the quality of your relationships versus the quantity. It's not about a number, it's about how deep and rich and how, the quality of these relationships. And isn't it interesting how we like to look at like the amount of something versus like the richness and the deep quality of it. And I just want to honor you for a moment because we have been working together for several months and talked about even the influence that you have as the mother in your home, and how you really do get to have this feminine influence that doesn't look masculine. The women are the neck, right? And so you can work together in partnership in your home to know that you play different roles, but they work together. And as you've been stepping into this with your family, I am witnessing you deepening the quality of the relationships. And so I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I see that Courtney Brown is here. I'm not sure if you're here, Courtney, and want to share in the chat, or if you want to come on camera. But if you do, just ping and say yes. Otherwise, we'll move on. I want you to look at your low for a moment. And you can look at multiple, right? I want you to notice, where is that low? And then what is one thing you could do today to increase that number? It's one thing you could do to increase that number. And write that down. And then make the commitment to yourself that you'll do it, that you'll prioritize that. So if you need to get out and move your body, or, if you just need to be with yourself to feel some of those emotions a little bit more and let them move through you, what's one thing you'll do? And then if you would, I'd love for you to share that one thing you're going to do with the group. Say it out loud, claim it. What's one thing?
I feel like I've been more like of a walker lately, just getting out, and we have a great neighborhood to walk in. And so like I guess I always tell myself like, but I have no excuses. I need to do this because every time I do, I always just feel like, oh, so recharged. And so my low was my mental. And so I think today, whether it's snowing or not, I'm just gonna bundle up and just go walk by myself. Just that's what I need, and that's what I'm gonna do this morning. So that's
I love it.
on my plan.
Love it. I love it. And I love what you said. Just get bundled up and get out there in the snow and enjoy it,
Yeah. Yeah.
My low is my mental as well. So I guess we're on the same wavelength, Carly. But for me, I have so much I've got to do today. So I'm going to try to do kind of like a 10-minute meditation session that I listen to, and kind of get into more of an abundance and gratitude mindset.
I love that, Barbie. Yeah, it's so true, right? Our mind can be occupied with whatever we decide. And if you want to, if you're noticing that you have a really, really active mind, give it something to chew on, if you will, or give it something to focus on that feels good, right? I mean, you get to create that. You get to feel better. You don't have to stay in that. You have the power and the resources and the tools to change that. I love it, Barbie. Great.
Oh, sorry, I had one more that I was
Yeah.
so excited to tell you about.
Tell
So
us.
I have like a new Audible book that I'm going to start today, and I'm sure you've already read it because you love this author. It's that Gabrielle Bernstein, but it's her book called Happy Days.
Yes.
Have you read that one? Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one that I was on my list today that I thought, oh my gosh, this is really like, I was telling my husband about it when he flew in last night, and I was like, I'm so excited about this book. Like, I read her other book and it was really good, and so I I have some time set out for that on my car rides today that I'm just going to start listening to this, and I think that's what I need.
I love her so much. All of you, I love Gabrielle Bernstein so much. Happy Days is a great one. There's also another one that I'm going to recommend to you. This is one of those you can't really, well, I guess you could, but it's one that I'm very careful in recommending to people because it's pretty like mirror flat is up, and it's called Judgment Detox. And if you find yourself being in judgment of others or critical of others or picking others apart, I would highly recommend Gabrielle Bernstein's Judgment Detox. She has a lot of really, really good stuff. I really, really enjoy her. It's an easy read. She gives meditations. She gives you resources and tools. I like her audio because it's hard for me. Like, it's like I can't read a meditation with my eyes closed. Right. So I love her audio. I end up getting both, but thank you, Carly, for recommending that. In fact, I was just thinking today about book club for our Turn On membership. All of you are welcome. And I would love for you to join that at any time if you feel called. But in our Turn On membership, we have a book club every month. And this month we've been reading Don Ruiz' Four Agreements, which is one I come back to literally every year. It's not always book club, but it's kind of like my Bible, I guess. But Happy Days is a great it's a great one. So Carly, you're in the Turn On community. So I think what we'll do is have that be our book club for November. So thank you for coming back and saying, I got to share this. Awesome. Okay, who's next? What's the one thing you're going to do today?
Well, I was going to answer and then you phrased it that way and my brain tripped up. The one thing I'm going to do right now after
Okay.
this call, my mental is also low. And I recognize that the racing thoughts are coming from sentences in my brain about obligations to others not being met today, specifically. They're not being met today, specifically. And I realized when you were sharing that I simply need to take myself offline for a few seconds and reframe those thoughts and reestablish an association with myself and what I am able to do and quiet the mind. It's, yeah. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do after this call, because that's where my mental, but it's interesting too, because my relationship number is low as well. And I feel like they're very connected.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
improving the one will fix the other or move the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. You being mentally where you get to be will allow you to show up in your relationships. And I know your work and I know what you do, Zadra. And so it is very important for you to be centered and for you to have that quiet mind so that you can receive and hear the needs of others instead of putting expectations on yourself of what you think you need to do for them or how you can help them. That's beautiful. I love that awareness. Okay, Johnny boy, what's your one thing?
Well, I feel like I'm jumping on here with Carly and Barbie. It's to me, well, kind of, I guess. Mine was to move my body. Like when I get stuck or feel stuck, I tend to not want to have this desire to like get up and move because I'm a very active person. And I kind of go in and then I notice there's like that energy that builds and it's this weird balance I have to like push through to get to the other side sometimes, and that's sometimes really painful. or really maybe painful is wrong, just really hard. And so, and it's not that hard. It's just like doing it and being okay with it. So for me, I'm just gonna move my body. It's what I need to do. I hate the rain. So there's 100 other ways, like yoga at home tonight. I've been sauning pretty regularly, and that's good, but like I still there is like this special thing when you're just moving your body and moving the energy that's stuck. And so that's the one thing I'm gonna do.
Totally. I agree, John. And I'm just going to put it out there. You can take it or toss it. Maybe just do some push-ups, 10 push-ups in your office when we get off the phone, and just see if just 10 push-ups changes your state at all. Just 10 push-ups. I'm like you, John. I'm like, sometimes it feels like I'm waiting for the right moment. I'm like waiting for the right moment to go on the walk, or waiting for the rain to stop, or waiting for the temperature to be better, or waiting for the sun to come out, or whatever, the ideal conditions. I like ideal conditions. And so that's the thing that sometimes will keep me stuck. But, there are other things you can do in your office right now that will help your muscles and your heart rate get up, and you'll just start to feel. So, some push-ups or something like that, or, I don't know if you want to get all jumping jacks or whatever, but yeah, it's like, just do something and it will change your state. Like, it will literally change. And then also what it does for your brain is you stop being stuck on the thing, and you're like, oh, I just freaking did it. It's over. It's done. I did it. Great job. Move on. But yeah, isn't it interesting that mental is one that's up for everyone right now? And I love this community and the group, because we reflect back to each other like, okay, it's a thing. It's happening, and here we are. And a reminder, all of these pillars are extremely important, and your mental will be one of the most powerful. I believe that if you master your mind, you master your life. I believe that. You master the way you feel. Your mind is attached to so much, right? So much. And your mental can affect your physical body, literally dis-ease. It can affect your emotions, how you feel. If your mind is going, you're not connected to your spirit. And if your mind is too busy, then you don't actually hear what people are saying in your relationships. And so you are disconnected. So your mental one is huge, and it will. Let me see if I want to say that. I believe that it will create, your mental self-care will create the biggest shift in your reality from moment to moment, if you learn how to really tame it. Tame your mind. Get your mind to work for you, not against you. Don't let it run wild. It will. Your subconscious, remember, you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 90% are the same as they were yesterday. So if you want to change your reality, you have to change your mind. And it takes effort. So you snap, use that today. Notice, stop? Okay. Oh, stop, notice, what am I thinking about? How am I feeling? Okay, interesting. What's the dialogue here? Is it true? Do I like how it feels? Do I want to think this? No. Okay. What's a better feeling thought? Do what Barbie said. Turn on a podcast that feels abundant and light and joy, and like revisit that. Remember the gratitude effect we talked about way back? That's another good one. When you're thinking about what you're grateful for, when you're focused on the good, you'll see more good. When you're focused on the negative, you'll see more negative. I promise you, you will find evidence for whatever you're looking for. You will find evidence for it 100%. So choose to find the evidence in the good and the positive, and you'll see more of it, and then you'll feel better. Thank you all for that. Thank you. Thank you. I want to spend a little time with the five senses, okay, and embodiment. And when you can turn on your five senses in any experience in your life, anything. I'm actually going to invite you to close your eyes again. We're going to practice this for just a moment. I want you to feel your heart beating in your chest. Feel that. What does it feel like? Can you hear your heartbeat? Notice what you hear outside of you right now. What do you hear? Can you notice the sensation on your skin, the temperature in the room? Let your senses become really active right now. Notice what the taste is in your mouth. Maybe you've had coffee, maybe you've eaten something, maybe toothpaste. Feeling and being embodied right now in this moment. Let your five senses be really active. See if you can quiet your mind. Give yourself permission to put all those thoughts in the cupboard. They'll be there as soon as we finish this meditation. So just allow yourself to see clouds moving by. Tune back into what you're hearing. What do you hear? The sound of my voice. Maybe you can hear other things happening. Come back to feeling your heart beating in your chest and that taste in your mouth and the temperature in the room. And when you're ready, I want you to blink open your eyes. I want you to notice how when you become aware of your five senses, your brain slows down. Your thoughts slow down for a moment. Embodiment has nothing to do with your mind. I'm going to say that again. Embodiment has nothing to do with your mind. It's being tuned into your physical body. It's being tuned into your heart. It's being tuned into all the five senses, everything else happening except for the mind. This practice of being in the present moment means you're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. You're just here right now. You're paying attention. You're looking. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I feel? Being in the present moment is one of the most challenging parts of embodiment, to actually physically be in the present moment. So I invite you at any point in time when you feel your mind just kind of like taking off or racing, or just come back to that. What do I see? What do I feel? What do I smell? What can I touch? What can I hear? What's the temperature outside of me? Feeling the wind, feeling the air, whatever it is. Really, really coming back to like your physical senses and allowing yourself to be in connection with your five senses. Before we wrap up, I want to congratulate you all for completing the self-mastery program. You're all going to get an email with the certificate of completion. And I want to invite you and remind you that you're all invited to join the self-mastery program again, January 29th. We're going to kick it off again, which is great. It'll be after the holidays. And if you refer a friend to join us, then you get to be part of the experience at no cost. It's so nice to do it with someone. It's a great thing to do at the beginning of the new year. And if someone is interested now, they can split it up into several payments. It's easy. It ends up being $333 a month for the 12 weeks. So 333 for 3 months. The total is $999. So that's available. And then if you have a spouse or a partner, or someone you want to refer, they can do it at 25% off. Okay. And then again, like I said, you get to join them. So give the gift of self-mastery if that feels called. I'd love for you to share with the group what's your greatest win or takeaway from this program? What would you say? And take your time, if you need a minute to think about it, but I'd love to hear from you. What's been your greatest takeaway? What's been your greatest win? What did you learn about yourself? What do you feel like you want to congratulate yourself on? Not just today, not just the check-in we did today, but I'd like to hear for the overall.
I'll go.
Thanks, Barbie. Yeah.
I mean, I hate choosing favorites because I'm sure I'll think of 5 other things later, but what came to me first was that I appreciate the check-in ritual because I noticed that for me, I learned many things from it, but also I just appreciate being present in my in my being for that moment. It's become more comfortable and it's become a place I kind of relish being. And so I think I became more comfortable in my mind, in my being, in my all 5 of my bodies.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I'll go. It's kind of hit me today when I was talking and hearing other people talk and how you responded. Um, is that self-acceptance and like a non-judgment around where you're at is like the baseline of self-mastery and self-love. That was kind of what came to me today. I was like, okay, I don't need to judge myself, and that's how I can learn to love myself more, by accepting exactly who I am, where I'm at, with no judgment.
Amen. Thanks, John.
Okay, I was kind of on those lines where a lot of times when I'm struggling in a certain area and I, just having the awareness, more of that now, but also shedding light and almost, I don't want to say celebrate your lows, but they like surface more and it's like a target area. And I love having that now because it used to be a thing that I would kind of hide, not talk about or not want to focus on. But now I'm like, oh no, this is good. Let's see what we can do here. And I actually kind of get excited when I know that I'm struggling in an area because challenge accepted is kind of how I wake up that day, like, all right, we're gonna work on this because I know how to. So I love that.
Thank you.
I feel like the whole process and just learning has allowed me to slow down and get more in touch, like rather than rush through my experiences, allowed me to slow down and really tune in and see what's going on in that moment. Taking time for the self-care, taking the morning routines, giving myself permission to tend to myself first. I think that is huge. Recognizing, it's still a practice for me, John and me both apparently, is recognizing that high emotion is not a negative thing and allowing that. That's a new skill for me, definitely. And then this is not necessarily a win for me, but something that I did get from the group is really that sense of community and support. I know I put it in the Instagram group, but I really do think about each of you throughout the week and just know that there's like this foundational support underlying in the background when I'm going through my day, that there's this other cohort of people thinking like me and committed to themselves as well. I know it sounds cheese, but like it really was a foundation for me for the 12 weeks, knowing you guys were all there. So I appreciated it.
Thank you, Zadra. Thanks, all of you. There is something about community, right? It's our 5th pillar of self-care, social. It matters. We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with, on average. So if you're part of a cohort in a community that cares about self-care, that cares about doing the work, growth, expansion, checking in, being accountable, being vulnerable, we are a very individualistic society. We are very independent as individuals. Looking back, tribal communities relied on each other. It was survival. Like they had to. We live in a world that we don't have to do that anymore, and we've lost a lot of the community. And yet we are human beings who need to feel connected. And so the group part of this, the group program, this is the only group program I do, is self-mastery. And I do it in the spring and I do it in the fall because it is exactly what you said, Zadra. It's an opportunity to come together as community. And even today, we were all very clear that, wow, mentally, we as a community, as a collective, are having a lot of the same experiences. I'm not alone. And doesn't it feel so great to be able to see that? And so I appreciate this community. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to share. And please, the Instagram community for us is there. Share things. When you are reading a great book, when you see a quote that you love, do not hesitate. This cohort, this community, we are still here. We are still together. I hope I see every one of you in January back for this program. And I hope that we get to expand it and extend it to our friends and family. Because again, if we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with, don't we want the people that we're spending the most time with doing the things that we're doing so we can support each other and cheer each other on and talk about it and recommend, different things to each other, even to hold us accountable in our conversation or the way that we show up. It's really beautiful. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. This has been such a lovely experience. As promised, I will send your certificates of completion. I will also send a time. Does anyone, before we jump off, anyone have a specific request from now until December 31st when you feel like, gosh, Kate, this would be a really great time for us to have a group, drop in, check in, and me to do a bonus call? My initial thought was sometime after Thanksgiving and maybe before Christmas, so maybe like the second week in December. If I were to do, I'm actually just going to pull this up right now, y'all, because this is how I am. It's like, don't just talk about it, but do it. What if we looked at, and if I sent you a calendar invite for, what if we did December 10th? December 10th, or we could do December 17th. Anyone have a preference, December 10th or December 17th? Weigh in if you do. Got anything on your calendars? Okay, I'm going to do December 10th. I think the 17th gets a little bit close to Christmas, traveling, things like that. So I will send you a calendar invite with the same Zoom link with everything. We're going to check in, continue to practice your daily self-cares and check in. Reach out to me if you need anything. I talk to all of you regularly. I love you. Thank you for saying yes. This is such a great experience for me as well. My content is my medicine. And you are soul family. So thank you. Congrats. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Kate. Thank you for everything.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Bye, y'all.